Greater gender equality can help to reduce the root causes of poverty and vulnerability, and help poor people benefit from economic growth. Given that the Millennium Development Goals address key development challenges, one would expect that they would focus on gender throughout. However, gender is only explicit in 2 of the 8. The inclusion of gender in only 2 of the goals is far too narrow. Whilst gender is supposed to have been mainstreamed within development policies over the last decade, most of the MDGs do not have indicators relating to gender, and gender is not being taken into account where it cuts across many goals. For example, there are important links between access to services and women's empowerment. If less time is spent on household chores, women are free to progress with their education. I want to highlight 4 clusters of goals where gender dynamics are integral, but where they are far too regularly ignored. The first is poverty and sustainable development. Today, up to 443 million people live in chronic poverty, and it is uncertain how many are women because we do not have enough data. In most countries, women are responsible for food production and preparation in the home. You can't look at how to manage food availability without engaging women. When women have their own ownership, control of resources, and higher education levels, poverty reduction schemes are more successful. Second is access to services. According to data from MDG Monitor, around 64% of MDG targets for service-related goals are off track. This is due in large part to the very different challenges facing men and women, girls and boys. These can be biological differences, or a combination of biological and social factors. A good example is the growing feminisation of HIV and AIDS, in part because of women's greater susceptibility to infection. Another critical difference is time poverty, or the time spent on domestic duties, which makes it harder to access services. For example, in Brazil, 90% of women spend an average 20 hours a week on unpaid domestic chores, well over double the time spent by men. The third issue is that of care and caregiving. Policy needs to recognise the importance of caregiving. Care throughout life needs to be seen as the joint responsibility of society and the state, rather than women alone. Men have an important role to play, and recent World Health Organization reviews have shown that programs encouraging men to take a role in the support and care of their children lead to significantly better mother and child health. Finally, women need to be agents of change. Providing women with the opportunity to communicate their views in a meaningful way and to become the agents of their own empowerment is vital to overcome social and economic differences and alleviate poverty. Efforts should include improving women's access to medical, educational and economic resources, and giving them the knowledge and skills to use them. As pledged in the goal of MDG 8, the North-South Partnerships, governments and actors in the North have an important role to play in improving women's voice and agency. These partnerships should be reinforced by a renewed commitment to existing frameworks, such as CEDAW, or the Convention on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, and the Beijing Platform for Action. Practical measures to improve the current situation could include social protection policies that are sensitive to gender issues. These aim to make households less vulnerable and reduce chronic deprivation by cushioning the impact of economic and social shocks, and by helping poor households take advantage of opportunities presented by globalization and economic growth. Successful initiatives include community childcare to give women equal access to work and to free girls from extra domestic responsibilities, caregiver allowances, educational stipends for girls, awareness-raising programs about gender-based violence. If the global community is serious about meeting the targets outlined in the Millennium Development Goals, we need to have a greater awareness of the importance of gender dynamics affecting poverty. The strategies I have described are just the first steps. A concerted effort is needed, and this will require a strong commitment from the UN and all of its member states.